I'm excited for the sign on. Let's see what the thing is.
Wait, how do you want us to introduce you? Like James with Bullish Drive, anything with Bullish Drive, or do you just want James?
Just this really incredible guy that pretty much saved you when you came to Minnesota. Without him, we wouldn't be here today. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever you want to say. Yeah, whatever you want to say.
Okay.
It's all you, man.
All right.
Hi, and welcome back to the All Things podcast. And this is another Christian takeover because he's here, he's back. But this is really a James takeover. This is James, James Driessen, right? Is that how you say your last name?
That is,
okay,
yeah.
I heard it from Isaiah and I learned. But anyways.
I'm glad my son knows how to say her last name.
I was like, well, if he said it, he can't be wrong.
That's hilarious.
But anyways, honestly, I would consider you our first friend here in Minnesota.
Hey.
This is only our second time filming in Minnesota, and we're still pretty new. We've been here for a little under 4 months, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
4 months.
Yeah. And every time I served before actually moving here, you were on.
I was on.
And so that was cool. So I felt like we knew you a little beforehand. And then when we had a moving disaster, you were here to help us. And
that was a good day.
You blessed us so much.
It was on Labor Day.
Yep.
Our moving truck decided to come on Labor Day, and you came. You're like one day off of work.
They shattered our dishes, so I was crying, and I was like, "Hi, James!"
yeah, it was a lot.
This is definitely a memory for sure.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was crazy. Sarah came too, right?
Yep.
And the kids.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh man.
But yeah. So you can continue the introduction of James.
Yeah. So James, he's just a great friend of mine. I guess it started that day, really. Well, actually, you were probably the first face I ever met when we first visited the church, because a lot of you know that we moved here to Minnesota to work for Renovation Church, Mallory's worship leader, and we were visiting, and you were playing keys that first day.
That's right.
And the time I came back.
So both times.
The time. Yeah.
I remember we were talking, and you were like, I was just totally new scenario, and I remember you really wanted to make sure I felt seen, and that you were talking to me about New York and just everything, and so I really appreciated that. And then came through for us so much in Labor Day with the moving, and then we started working out in the morning. And we still do. We didn't do it today, sadly.
You don't need to say that. We're there every single day, consistently.
Yes, every day. It doesn't stop.
Starting at 3:30 all the way till 6. No, but honestly, I invite a lot of people to lift with me, and so it says a lot that you followed through. And I think that's what's really cool about you, as both of you guys together, is the integrity behind it. But we can dive into that later. But
sweet.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah.
You're just a blessing, because I just been praying for people to come alongside, especially Christian, because this move costs us a lot, but it cost him family being near, and someone who gets him. We also just had been praying that just he would have someone who's further along in life, be able to just pour into him, and for a while we've been praying for that, and you are just, I tell my friends, you're just an answered prayer, truly.
Yeah, man.
Seriously, I say it all the time.
When we first got here, I was praying that, that we would find friendships, meaningful friendships. But I've also I haven't had a lot of mentors in my life. Literally probably two. One of them really, really recent. And his name is Travis. And
we had him on.
Yeah, we had him on the first one.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that you're answering not just one, but multiple prayers for both me and Mallory. And so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that means a lot.
And you're musical. Yeah. You guys have a lot in common.
Yeah, we have a lot in common.
So
this guy is you know that commercial where it's this is the most interesting man in the world. You've done so much. There's not a single going of things you can do in life that he hasn't done, which so it's pretty cool. So that's where we're gonna start with just
sure
your background. What I guess
Tell us who
you could
you
start.
Are. Tell the people.
I guess you could start wherever you want to start, but I know that your salvation story wasn't from birth. Right?
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
So maybe start there.
At the salvation story or the birth part?
I don't know.
Because that's a big
Wherever you want to start. Tell us about yourself, your business.
How about that?
Oh, man. Well, yeah. So I was born in the Philippines. I was born into a very large family of, at the time, it was 7 kids. I was the youngest one. When I would find my family years later, it expanded to 14 kids. So there are a lot of us.
That's crazy.
But I think even from birth, there's always been things that have been kind of fighting against me. You know, my mom wanted to abort me. I was supposed to be an abortion. And it was my 14-year-old sister at the time who begged her not to. And the trade-off was, I'll take care of the baby if you just don't abort him. And so she tried to do that for 2 weeks. And then social services came, or whatever the equivalent is in the Philippines at that time, and took me away to an orphanage for 4 years. And so from the beginning, there's just always been this narrative of like, gotta stop you, gotta stop you, gotta stop you. And so over time, it's just built this idea in my head where if I put my mind to it, you know, and I just pour everything into it, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? And that's where you said that I do a lot of things. That's a mix of anxiety, ADHD, my birth story of why I poured myself into so many things. You know what I mean? I think, yeah, it's a mindset thing that goes into the later stuff. But yeah, like you said, I didn't fully find Jesus until 2014. So it was actually pretty recent. What is that, like 11 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh,
almost 11. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And so I grew up, my dad was a youth pastor. So I guess that qualifies as a PK, right? So like I knew God, you know, I went to church on Sundays. I was there Wednesday nights because my dad was there. I got to see him, you know, fool around with all the kids and, you know, get hyped. And I have those great memories, but it was just kind of a formality in my life, was just going to church. You know what I mean? And the relationship part. And when I went off to college, I went to a liberal arts college. It was a Christian college, but it was in that environment that I learned how to be angry about things. I learned how to question God. I learned how to step away, which is when I really fell away from God and kind of went through life, checked boxes. And it was in 2014 when I went through a divorce and found myself homeless. And, you know, I had nowhere to go, but I remembered on TV seeing people go to churches, right? Go to churches when you don't know where to go. And so that's what I did. I walked into a church, knew nobody there. And the pastor there was like, well, what is something God has put in your life that just fills your cup whenever you do it, no matter what's going on in your life? And it was music, you know? I'm like, well, I play music. And she was like, well, there's a church across town that's looking for a worship leader. You should audition for it. Why she thought this homeless dude, right? That she didn't talk anything about God or anything with me, but like, you should go check it out. And
that's crazy.
And I got it.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I got it in 2014. And it was because that showed up in my life in that time where I was starting to get convinced that God was looking out for me, right? Nothing else I was doing. My rugby sports, none of those guys showed up for me. You know, my work, my job, the other communities I was a part of, you know, they just didn't show up. But this one place that I had never touched or I had let go of in college showed up, gave me a space, you know, welcomed me and my son, and just helped me get back on my feet. So that was really kind of the turning point for me.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy that like the one thing you walked away from, right, was the only thing that was there for you in that time of life.
Well, it was the only real thing. Right? It was the only thing was substance, right? Because everything else was trying to fill a hole that only God could fill. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I spent a good chunk of my time trying to fill that hole, you know, with a lot of different things, you know, whether it's music, sports, video games, you know, art, film, whatever. I just poured it into it, but it would leak out because it wasn't the right shape for that hole. You know what I mean? And so when I finally found it, that's when it turned around.
That's so good, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so there's just a little bit of background about James.
little bit of background.
Just a little bit. But that's crazy that like you can see that from the beginning of your life there was like an agenda to stop you from being in ministry, which is wild. Because James, he not only serves occasionally on the worship team, and he just recently stopped a little bit because he's focusing on youth.
I feel bad.
Yeah, no, it's not
You
good.
don't have to feel bad.
You don't have to feel bad.
You guys show up. You bring all this incredible wealth of talent. I'm like, all right, deuces.
But I'm glad you're stepping
Pouring
more
into people.
Yes, especially young kids.
Yeah.
He's helping out a lot with youth, mentoring a lot of young kids, and I think it's crazy because there's so much that you have to give, and there's so much to you, and you could see that there was an agenda to stop it, and it's so cool that the Lord intervened, like that lady that gave you a job, which is kind of crazy, kind of a little wild.
Crazy. It's so cool.
But it was clearly God. It was clearly a God designed thing, and I think that lady was actually being led by the Holy Spirit, to extend that job to you. Any other homeless person, maybe not. but for your story, it was exactly what you needed. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%.
So, next question. So you have a psychology business. You got into psychology.
I did get into psychology,
and that's a pretty wild journey. So you briefly mentioned all these things, but music, rugby, sports, and then now this psychology thing. And how did you get to psychology? How did they all come together?
Man, I don't know. That's God's plan.
That's God's plan.
It's truly God's plan. Well, like I said, I was adopted, and there's always this conversation about what's nature and nurture, right? It was like, are you genetically that way, or is there something that happened with your family, stuff like that? And so that was really kind of the seed for seeking psychology and just trying to figure out myself. And if you go into the psychology field, you ask any psychologist, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, why do you go into psychology? Because I just want to figure out my own stuff. My mom was a director of the social work in the education system down in Owatonna, and so I was around it a lot. Back then, HIPAA wasn't quite a thing, so I would join her in a lot of stuff. We'd be going to clients' houses, and my mom's retired now, so you can't go after her. So, but that's what we would do. That's what we would do. I would hang out. I'd see how she talked and interacted with these kids that had disabilities or diagnoses, and how she helped them. And so it was just kind of an environment I grew up in, and my mom and dad were very different, just how they parented and how they showed up. And their family lives were also very, very different. So all of that just kind of fueled this idea of what really creates compassion, what really creates a person, what really creates, foundations for kids to grow.
I think about that all the time because all of my siblings are from different places around the world, completely different homes, various levels of struggle. So that's always a conversation in my house is nature versus nurture, always.
Yeah. And what have you concluded?
Honestly, it's both. It's both hands. Some of it is brain function, brain development. Some of it is trauma, life experience, all the things. So it's very situational from sibling to sibling, even myself, Yeah,
100%. Life happens to us, but it's our responsibility to handle it, and not the responsibility of other people to do that. You know what I mean? And so that's a big reason why I went to psychology. And all my counselors and stuff were like, you should do psychology. You should go into psychology. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll do psychology. If you say it, I'm going to do it. And so that's really how I got started into psychology. But I didn't want to do clinical in the beginning. I wanted to do forensic psychology, which is more of a legal degree, because what I want to do is I want to go into the FBI. That was my thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we briefly touched on this.
Yeah.
Recently, see, I told you,
I'm learning things right now.
Well, he hasn't said it yet, but music, he was a classical violinist. So he from a violinist, music
FBI.
degree to the FBI to rugby. I'm He just continues to blow my mind.
It's funny because when I first met my wife, on our first date, she would ask me like, "Well, tell me about yourself," and I would just keep kind of laying stuff out. She thought I was a chronic liar. She thought I was lying about my life. She's like, "This dude's a sociopath." Like,
that is so
there's
funny.
nobody, you know. But honestly, all of it is like it was trauma driven. You know, it was undiagnosed ADHD driven. You know, so I just always wanted to be out of my house, you know, and doing stuff. So I literally signed up for everything. I did everything from mock trial to speech club to soccer to powder puff volleyball, which is like reverse powder puff. Do you know what powder puff is?
I have zero clue.
Powder puff is when the girls play football and the guys will be the cheerleaders. And so
that's so funny.
So I did like powder puff volleyball because we only had a women's.
Oh,
so then all the guys would play volleyball and the girls would coach us.
That's so funny. What? Yep. That's a thing? I didn't know.
That was. I think it was a thing back then. I don't know if it is now.
So funny.
Yeah. So like hilarious. I just did everything to get out of the house. That's how I ended up doing everything I did. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
In that, what's been the most challenging thing that you've encountered in psychology? I think about like starting your own brand, like starting how to
definitely talk about your brand and what you do now and why.
Yeah.
So that, definitely. And then, so what was like the most challenging in that? But then also what's one thing that like was the best? What's been the best kind of benefit that has come from it?
Yeah, I think God will always put you in places if you're obedient to move things, to make things happen, if you're listening to him, you know, especially when it terrifies you. So the psych field, when I went into it, was very much like, let's help people get better. And I'm not saying that it's not that way anymore, but there's been a pretty scary shift in how psychology is delivered today, even in psychiatry. And, you know, I was really scared to speak out about it, you know, but I'm kind of at that point now where people need to know, you know, right. Where in the beginning it was very much, you know, that Hippocratic oath, like we're going to just help people get better. You know, that's our job. And now we've kind of moved into a space of affirming, you know, mental health and people get ostracized for saying stuff like that. And that started in a matter of like 2 years. And then when COVID hit, it really amped up. You know, I saw the shift happen. And I was still pretty young in the clinical setting, and it was very much like I'm on this train now. You know, I either jump off and potentially die, or I sit with everybody else and ride it, you know, and see where it goes. And so now coming out on the other side, it's like there's this very strong pull away from why I originally went into psychology, you know, and it's so that's probably the scariest and hardest thing, especially with my faith. You know, Christianity is oftentimes seen as bigoted or self-centered or non-compassionate in the psych world because of the affirmative move that's happening. Right. I went through a season where I had to compartmentalize my faith in order to go to work. Because there was openly being said like, oh, those Christians would treat you like this, or those Christians would do this, like right in the therapeutic space. You know what I mean? Wow. And so and they didn't know I was a closet Christian for a while, you know? So that was also the catalyst for why I wanted to start my own thing, why I wanted to move into my own thing. And so started our company, Bullish Drive Agency, a few years ago, really just out of a frustration during an anniversary dinner, you know, talking about the psych field and the sports world and stuff like that. My son Isaiah was getting to the AAU, and we were just talking about role models, and basketball players were just making fool of themselves. You know, it's like, I don't know if he's the greatest for you to look up to, you know? And so we just had this talk about like, well, what are you passionate about? You got the skill in psychology, you're passionate about coaching people. And so we formulated Bullish Drive. And so now we work with athletes and musicians and basically any high-level performer, helping them with their mindset, linking it back to the Bible. Because one thing I do notice is that you know, we have this book in psychology, it's called the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistic Manual, and it's on the 5th revision, you know what I mean? So things change because diagnoses are culturally based, you know, so depending on what is normal in culture, depends on what the diagnosis is. I mean, if I took the DSM and I went over to like Africa or Australia or Europe, my diagnoses wouldn't be the same over there because the culture is different. And that was a big like light bulb for me too. It's like, then what is the standard at which we should be helping people with their mindset and their mental health? And I started pulling out interventions that really worked, what psychologists did. And you find all that stuff in the Bible. It's just that we're convinced that the Bible's antiquated, right? I mean, if you think about anxiety, one of the biggest things we do is stay present, stay in the moment, right? Block out the worries of tomorrow, block out the worries of yesterday, and you hit Matthew 6:34. Right? Why worry about tomorrow when today has worries of its own? Another thing is reality checking, right? When you start hearing the negative thoughts in your head, you start tearing yourself down. Psychological intervention says, start asking who told you that? Who said that you were that? And then you look at the Bible, the second question God ever asked Adam when he first showed anxiety and fear, God was like, well, who told you were naked? Right? So it's like all these interventions are in the Bible because God created our mind. He created how he thinks. He wants us to be healthy, you know? And we can find that if we spend time in the real diagnostic manual.
Wow. And then like how has, and what would you say to people who see the Bible or Christianity as like a crutch, you know, where it's like, in this space, it's like, yes, like we need this because, you know, it helps. But then some people would be like skeptical and be like, oh, it's just a crutch. Like, I could achieve the same thing by doing this or something like that. And like, what would you say to those people who think that like Christianity and reading the Bible, getting to know the reliability of the Bible and stuff like that as a crutch? You know, what would you say to that?
Yeah, it's kind of the same question I ask anybody who's just thinking of doing a life change. It's like, how long can you keep doing this and at what cost are you going to do it? You know, you can go on a whole ton of your life saying like, I'm not going to read the Bible, I'm not going to read the Bible. Well, if you're going through a stressful time in your life, how long are you going to keep doing that? And at what cost is it going to, you know, cost you?
So basically just take a second and think about yourself. Because like so many times people have so many opinions that aren't even their own, you know? Where it's like, okay, what's your life like? You know, like where you're like, oh, Christianity is a crutch, you know, reading the Bible is a crutch. Okay, but what about you? What about when X family member passes away and you have nothing? What do you do when you have to sell this, when you have to leave this? You know, it's like, then they think about it.
And I mean, that was with me. I was in that camp of like, the Bible's a crutch, the Christianity is a crutch. Like, it's a guideline, right? It's antiquated. Some things are true, some things are not. It's written by man. You know, all the arguments came out of my mouth, right? But it wasn't until I was rock bottom that none of those arguments came to help me, you know? And that's why I will always stand and die on that hill. You know what I mean?
And you probably have a perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, where it's like, why wait to get there, right? Like, like it's not, you could just accept the fact that it's not a crutch, that it's not a weak mindset, that it's actually a very strong mindset. And it's something very admirable to do early before you get there, you know?
I started going to therapy junior year of high school. And I know obviously they're different things, right? But like, I loved having like a Christian therapist because she would connect those things for me. And like, I'm such a huge advocate for like, you know, counseling, like psychology, all that stuff, because like the Lord, he designed our brains, you know, like he did, you know, he knows how we think. And I didn't even know that you worked with musicians. That's really, honestly, I could use some help.
All right, we'll chat.
But that's really, really cool. Because like my biggest struggle is mental blocks with like my craft, you know, the biggest thing is mental blocks. I work with these different coaches and they're like, it's like, it's all mental. So that's just like, it's really cool that you like, it's just a cool field to be in.
Absolutely. And I mean, with musicians, it's exactly the same as sports, right? You're training, you're going through the repetition, you're getting your body to respond naturally, instinctually to things, right? And I always say it's the same game, different field, you know, same game, different court. What you're training is exactly the same thing everybody else that's performing at high levels needs to have these skills. It's just on a different court that you're using them. You know what I mean?
So kind of transitioning now into a topic of like more marriage. Marriage is something that I think we talk a lot about on the podcast here. And I think a lot of people like are interested in it.
The heart behind that is it's so undervalued. by everyone all the time, you know? And like I think I was just really saddened to grow up and like my parents have a great marriage, but like to constantly hear like negative. I witnessed a lot of marriages where they don't even, like one of them, they don't even stay in the same house anymore. Yeah. They're married and they don't even live in the same house. They like, and that just makes me sad. And you know, when you are engaged, you hear, oh, just wait, you know, you wait. And like, that just made me sad. And then like, there are couples that we know and they're just like so in love with each other and they've been married for like ever. Honestly, his parents, like your parent, like the way your mom like talks about memories with your dad, you know, and like in my parent, and I don't know, I just I care a lot.
Yeah, we recently had a podcast with her friend Lucy on submission and a lot of biblical roles and stuff like that. And it was like there's a kind of a theme is like it's so easy to accept when you've seen it done right, you know, when you've seen it done healthy and stuff like that. So it's like I think it's sad because a lot of people's view on marriage is sort of negative because they've seen such negative examples.
Nature versus nurture.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yep. But in your field of work with psychology and all this, how has that impacted your marriage journey? And what are some? Have they informed each other in some way?
Yeah. Yeah. And I say this out of love for sure, but it makes it difficult to give advice as a psychologist because it instantly feels like it's turned into a therapy session, and you never want to be your spouse's therapist,
right?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to go and saying stuff like that. But all joking aside, I say this as humbly as possible. Is I've been in two very different marriages. You know, I've been in a marriage that wasn't godly. I've been in a marriage that just checked the boxes. My first marriage was to my high school sweetheart, you know, and it was a very American love story, you know, type of thing. But there was no God in it, you know, and with that type of marriage, there was always an option to leave, you know, because that was normal. You know what I mean? If things got too hard, you have to look out for yourself and you have to, you know, leave. You know, you have to have that option. You know, even in Hollywood, it's like prenups and stuff like that. We're just
I hear about
feeding
that all the
this.
time.
Yeah, and that also goes to dating culture in America. Like as in high school, like I had my first girlfriend was when I was in 6th grade. Yeah, you know what I mean, and it was cute. It was cute. It was adorable. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, look how cute they are! Look how." And I think that can be really dangerous. You know, because there's no way I was ever going to marry this girl in 6th grade. So what I was setting myself up to do is prepare myself for divorce. Yeah. Like for every girlfriend I dated through high school, through middle school, in 6th grade, it was like everyone ended. And what that taught me about intimate relationships or close relationships was that you can end it. You can walk away, you know?
Right. It's practicing
divorce. Yep. And so, like with our kids now, I'm very much like, what are you going to give to her? You know, how are you going to provide? How are you going to create a space that she can live in? Like, what are you going to do for that? And, that's always been the message to them because that's how I want them to see, inviting somebody into that part of their lives is that you're training yourself to be a husband. Right. You know, you're training yourself to look after somebody that's not you. Yeah. And of course, biblically, when you get married, you're no longer two different people, right? You are now one person. One. You know, and it's almost if you look at your body, it's like in order for your mouth to feed, your hand has to move, right? And you can't cut that away, you know? And so if you look at marriage the same way, it's like you got to support each other and hope that you thrive through that, you know? Did that answer the question or did I kind of go off on a tangent?
No, that was great. The other day, I was talking with a friend from church, and he was talking about his plan. He just started dating this girl. He wants to get married and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is sweet. And this guy on the chair next to us is just like, don't do it. It's a trap. I'm like, it was like a joke.
Yeah. He wasn't joking.
But he kind of wasn't. It was almost like our conversation was irritating him that he had to.
Because he's so pro marriage. We are so pro.
It was almost like he had to say something, and it was like it's sad because it's like I wonder what his marriage looked.
There's definitely an experience
like.
behind there. Yeah.
And one of the, I mean, we've only been married like how long? A year and a half.
Year and a half, I think.
But when people ask us for relationship advice, like
which is more often than it should be for how little we've been married for.
Yeah. But like one of the first things I always say is, what's the purpose?
Yep.
Like, why are you dating? And there is a right answer, and it's for marriage. And if you're dating somebody without wanting to marry them, then like what is the point?
Yep.
Like dating is the purpose is to get to know someone. That's why you date.
Yep.
One of the things we talk about too is sacrifice, because so many of my friends, they're like they want to get married and they're like so excited, but then like they'll be in a position where marrying them requires them to give something up, and it's like, oh, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. You don't want to like a for real like covenant of marriage then if you're not willing to like sacrifice. And honestly, I'm really thankful for the way that I had to sacrifice a lot of material things, a lot of life plans for him, because I feel like it set me up to like, it strengthened that muscle of learning to like sacrifice, and it's no easier than it was, but I know how now. But I also just like, I feel like there's a lot of, I don't know, I feel like the values of marriage are just like all screwed up right now, because number one, there's no value for like marriage is forever.
Yeah.
Right? I'm still looking out for myself. Right? Like, and that just makes me sad.
Yeah. And I feel like that whole thing really is exposed when you talk to people about their views on divorce, like you mentioned, and like their views on how forever and how committed it.
How covenantal is it?
Yeah. We're really we're not strict. I wouldn't say strict. I think we're just very to the Bible. Like I feel like our views are, we try and be as biblically based as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And the Bible is really clear. It was the way it was designed was forever. It was forever covenant. And it's like, so that's our view. Like there's no, and we knew that going in, and we discussed that.
Yeah.
Like, that was one of the first things he asked me.
Yeah. Like what is your view on it? Because, I want to know if when things get hard, because it's not a matter of when, it's just a matter of, or I said if, but it's really not a matter of if, it's just when. Like when things get hard, are you going to have an escape plan? And having walked through 2 marriages now, how have you in a way reconciled that, and how have you developed in that view? And just give like some kids and who want to get married advice on it.
There are people in our lives who like had to escape, right? And like, and their views therefore on divorce are like, if he did that, you should leave. And giving that advice out to other people to like loosen their view on it. And so I think they're valid in their feelings, but speak to people who this is a really touchy subject to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I speak from experience. My first marriage was filled with infidelity, pornography, cheating, but in that those are cracks. There's always an escape plan in that type of marriage. I mean, the escape plan has already been made. You know what I mean? And I really struggled with the fact that I was a divorcee, for a long time, especially as I started getting to know Jesus and talking to people and just having conversations. It's like, what does that mean for me as a Christian man that I couldn't keep that together or walk away or had to walk away from that situation? What I do see, though, is how it affects generations afterwards. You know, I see how it affects my son. I see how it affects my wife now. I see how it affects our kids. And so when you go into marriages to, I think you guys did a podcast on just being 100% forward and honest about who you are as soon as possible. You know what I mean? Because when I met Ingrid, that was first or second date. Like I laid it all out. You know what I mean? Because she needs to know the person that hopefully she wants to marry someday and what I bring there with it, you know? Because you're right. You become this one unit. And as the Bible says, like a husband should treat his wife like Jesus treated the church. And we got to remember, Jesus died for the church.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so if you have a fight and you're willing to walk away, you're clearly not there to die for the church. You know what I mean? Like there's a sacrifice there. And I was just thinking the other day, like, or actually just yesterday, there was just a situation at work, you know, with psychology and some of the struggles I was going to. And out of nowhere, Ingrid just sent me a text and she's like, you know, baby, I believe in what you're doing and I'm here for whatever you need. And that she has no context. You know what I mean? But there's that connection. And that's the type of people you want. Right. You know, to be married to, you know
That's
what I mean?
Really sweet.
That's really sweet.
But she just has that gift, you know, where hopefully I gift in a different way, you know, because sometimes But as far as the divorce question, right, we're trying to touch on that, like how to reconcile that and how that's viewed. Right. It made the covenant a lot stronger for me. It made me really look seriously on if I was going to get married again, what is really important in that marriage, what is really important with the partner that I want to do the rest of life with. Because when I married first time, it was all for check boxes and looks and like what people assumed was going to happen. And I was doing it for the world, you know, and that's really the difference. And so the world took it away from me, you know, the world broke it. And so with my marriage now, it was really for who can I fight this good fight with the rest of my life, you know, and who can I trust raising our children together and instill in those. And I don't know if that answered your question, but that's how it changed the way I looked at it.
Yeah. You viewed it more as a unit, like the Bible kind of describes, where they're one. You viewed it more as like one ship. Whereas before, it felt like, correct me if I'm wrong, was it more, you guys felt very separated, almost like two different people?
It was like we were sailing in two ships next to each other.
Okay.
One had certain values, the other one had different values.
Right.
And so when it all came down to why are we still here, why are we doing what we're doing, the values just didn't align with each other. And it was much easier to walk away from that.
Right. So it wasn't centered around a covenant.
There was not a covenant, not at all. Nope.
And then this one, your marriage with Ingrid, which is so beautiful and amazing.
Yeah.
What was centered around a covenant?
Yeah.
Right.
First and foremost, I mean, when the first time we sat down at that coffee shop together, we were very much like, we're dating for marriage.
Right.
And that's what we're doing.
So we've kind of had, me and Mallory, the privilege of sitting and really talking deep like this with a lot of different couples. And we've noticed that there's a look and there's a style to a successful marriage.
Yes.
And like,
you can just
we're still figuring it out. We're still figuring it out, but there's a certain way that you walk. And one of those things is like, that just we've noticed is the front conversation, that front end conversation, that first, how it started, that conversation is like huge.
Yeah.
And one of those things is like laying it all out on the table, which is why we always say that. Like, don't wait to share anything.
Yeah.
You know, like immediately just lay it out. And then the second thing is kind of what I was touching on about you having your marriage centered around a covenant. And it's like, it's not centered around you. And it's not centered around Ingrid. It's not even really centered around your relationship and how you guys are, because that too is going to change. And we're learning that too. Our relationship changes as we get older. The way we love each other changes. The way we communicate changes. I'm sure from 10 years from now, we're gonna be like, wow, we were completely different when we were this age, But what will never change is that covenant, right? And that is what's at the center of our relationship.
And I want you to talk about this a little bit, both of you too. But again, I want to be like super sensitive because I know people who this is just like a validly a very hard thing, and validly they disagree with me, right? For people who have had situations where they have literally like had to leave, right?
And we don't want to like shame. And like you said, you kind of went through a season where
you had to.
You almost felt like a shame post the divorce, and we don't ever want to be that. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't want to cause
that's fair.
And so it's like, with that in mind,
Some of the dearest people in my life have had situations where their lives have been redeemed,
right?
Because they had to get out, right? So I'd love for you to like talk about like the verses in the Bible, like what Jesus meant in when he said what he said, or in what like back in the Old Testament law, what you remember?
Oh yeah. When the disciples asked him, I forget what verse it is, but they were like, or I think it was the Pharisees. When they were trying to trap him in questions, they confronted Jesus and said, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife?" And culturally, it was very acceptable for them, and which is kind of shocking because usually we think of the Pharisees as these really religious, kind of strict people to the law kind of thing. But there was this cultural thing where you could even see it in the rest of the New Testament story with King Herod and him divorcing his wife, marrying some weird relative. There was some weirdness going on there, and John the Baptist actually got killed for calling him out on it. That's how strong the culture was against like this kind of really like, you can't divorce your wife kind of thing. And so they confronted him on that, which to us almost doesn't seem like a controversial issue, but for them it really was. So
the Pharisees were asking Jesus.
Yeah, so the Pharisees were asking Jesus, and Jesus said, Moses allowed you to divorce your wives because of the stubbornness of your hearts. But it was never meant to be that way. And then later, the disciples went to Jesus and were like, so he was like, okay, I hear you, Jesus, but like, who's going to get married then?
Right.
It was almost like impossible. It shows you how deep divorce was in that culture, where they couldn't even comprehend getting into something that you can't escape, and that's exactly how they viewed it. And then, or I guess that's what I think. I don't know if that was exactly what they thought, but Jesus said basically he had kind of like almost a poetic response, saying like, some of you are just not gonna get married then. That was what he said, which was like, whoa, and he used the word eunuch, which he was like, some of you will have to make yourself eunuchs for my name, for my sake. Which is a crazy heavy weight, to just put on people. But it's like, but Jesus had this perspective where it was like, it shouldn't, going into it from the very beginning, like you said, if it's based on a covenant, there really is no room for like this option, in the back of your head. And there are scenarios where you have to escape, right? Where there are some like abusive, serious, like, okay, yes, like, don't sacrifice yourself for, like, I don't, there's some scenarios where
right, and the people I know that was their situation. They were in scenarios where they literally had to, like, abuse of all the categories. They had to leave, right? But now, what would you say to someone who went through like something where they had to leave, right? Which like an acceptable reason to leave, but now their view, even on a good marriage, is that you can just leave because you have more authority than us to speak on this, given your testimony and that like everything you've been through. And so what would you say to that?
Yeah, it's kind of a wash answer, but it's the truth for me is like, you gotta take everything and lay it at the cross. And you like all that shame, everything you have, you gotta bring it back. You have to humble yourself and be like, this is part of my story, and that that's now there. Like, you can't go back in time. You can't erase it. You did what you had to do. You're now safe. You're out of that situation. If there's shame in your heart, we bring it to Jesus. And to this day, there are still moments where I have to continue to bring it to Jesus. And that's how much divorce can root itself within your lives, that even years from it, after you've done everything, and after you've moved on and life is, exponentially better now with God in my life, there's still moments where that history catches up and I'm just like, I have to bring this back to Jesus and do that. And it seems like such an easy answer. Because you got people around you trying to give you advice and what to do and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, the only one who can heal that hole in your heart is Jesus Christ. And so to bring that history and that shame back to him is really the thing that kept me moving forward and rearranging things back into that covenant mindset,
right?
Or else I'd probably be sitting down in Rochester, living the bachelor life, doing whatever, working in a school system. I don't know where I'd be. To be honest, but it would be drastically different if I didn't take that, and return to God for it.
No, that's the most profound answer I think that you could have given. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not light at all, and it's such an easy thing to say. Take it to the cross.
It's very easy to say.
But for me, taking things to the cross really looks like tears and like it's not like easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And especially if you're not a believer of Christ and you're going through that, it's the importance of having a community around you to help pick you up through that.
Yeah. God, community, your family. Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you about parenting too, in your parenting journey. Mm-hmm. You said something really beautiful when we were talking in the gym, where when you first went through your divorce, hadn't really found God again yet. Yeah. You wanted it to just end.
Yeah.
But like you said that you heard your son in the other room, right?
Yep. That happened multiple times. There are definitely multiple times, where I was just like, there's nothing I can do for this world. There's nothing this world is doing for me, Clearly, the people I thought loved me are doing fine without me. Like, they're not here to help me. And so there are a number of times where I'm like, deuces to the world, But it was, having my son. And in many ways, in those seasons, my son saved me. Even though it felt like I was his caretaker, he was the one that was grounding me. And
you were taking care of your son, like, primarily that whole time?
Yeah. Because it was just a season where there were moments and, it would be like 1:00 in the morning and he was supposed to be at his mom's and I would get a call and she'd be like, I just can't take care of him right now. You know what I mean? And like, I was staying at like a teammate's house, an apartment, He remembers these nights too. So, I mean, if he ever crosses this, he's going to be like, man, I remember those nights. That dude like helped me out a lot. Mm-hmm. Where I would drive over there and take him and there would be, just couch hopping together, just me and him. So Isaiah's been through a ton. He's saved me through a lot. And so, when I had the option to try and save him in return, that's what I tried to do. But kids can do a lot for your life.
No, that's really, really beautiful. The way that like you heard his crying in the other room and you were like, no, like there's a reason why I'm here. Yep. Like, so talking about parenting and that journey, like it's meant almost everything for you because it kind of saved you.
Yeah.
It gave you like purpose when you really had none.
Yeah, he's also such a redemptive part of your life. His son is the coolest kid I've ever met. Yeah. Like, he has such a calling on his life.
Oh yeah,
he is a profound worship leader already. Like, he's such a talented, like, he's just amazing. And I don't know. There's an anointing on that kid.
He has such a great singing voice.
He's just the
but then he also shared his testimony recently at one of the Wednesday night youth groups.
Oh my gosh.
And he did such a good job. Like, it was like, he was like...
He's 14?
He turns 13 this year.
Oh,
yeah, he's only 12 years old. Yeah.
He did such a good job.
He's so cute. I can't.
I was so actually impressed with his testimony and how he was able to deliver it, talk. Yeah.
Anyways,
But
those words mean a lot to me, so thank you for saying that.
Yeah, of course.
Bring that out.
no, we literally, I think he's like the cutest thing ever.
But yeah, so like parenting, what are some things that you've learned being a dad? Because now you have how many now?
Is
4?
Three.
Okay.
4 with the hairy one. That's a dog, by the way. Okay. Like a hairy child.
You didn't know?
Okay, I was like, I'm a hairy.
Yeah, we keep that one in the attic. No,
That's funny.
It's parenting, by the way, is a lot easier when you and your partner, your spouse,
right,
are on the same page.
So it's good that we talked about marriage right before you talk about this.
Yep.
And we obviously don't have kids, so we're like learning.
You got
here.
one hiding around, like
no kids.
Yeah. Well, like Isaiah was a journey for me. Like you said, he saved me. He reminded me of my purpose in times when I had no purpose. But the Bible says to train up kids in the way that they should go, and if anybody misleads these children, that's better that you tie a millstone around your neck. Like it's a serious calling to be a parent. You know what I mean? And when I prioritize my life, it's God first, then it's my wife, and then it's my kids, and then it's church. And if at any time any of those priorities gets above the other one or out of alignment, I have to step back. That's one of the biggest things I've had to grow in, especially with serving, because I would serve all the time. And so saying I have to step away from the worship team was so hard for me. Yeah.
He has the same.
Yeah.
That was a big struggle.
We talked
in
a lot about
first year of marriage.
Yeah.
Was church and wife and how they fell. That was a really hard thing to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to the covenant piece is you can't ignore half of who you are, right? You can't prioritize that below other things in your life. Like if half of you is dead and dying, you're not going to be able to survive. You know what I mean? And when you get married, that is what's happening. Like she is the best part of me for sure. You know what I mean? Like she's the one that reaches out to me on a feeling or a conviction where I'm so full of all my stuff that I miss out. And the longer that we're in marriage together, like you said, the love changes, right? You go from boyfriend James to husband James to dad James to life partner James. That love looks differently, and our love is in a place now where I cannot replace it with anything. There's nothing on this earth that can replace the connection that I have with Ingrid and how much it fills my cup to come home and see her. You know what I mean?
That's so sweet.
And I didn't know what that love was. And you don't in the beginning. You can hear people talk about it, but the love grows. And I think that's why the enemy attacks marriages so much, because if we just experience that love for a day, we would prioritize that so much in our life.
What did you see in her when you were dating that made you realize that she was someone you'd want to enter a forever covenant with? Because you clearly saw something in her. Because if your conviction on marriage is that it's forever, you saw something in her that said forever. What was it?
Yeah. Well, there's a number of things besides her personality. She's smoking, all those things. She still is. But there is so we met online. I think her dad knows. I hope you know. If you don't, you do now. So
that's hilarious.
Because I was a single dad. I was trying to figure things out. And we met on this app called Coffee Meets Bagel. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Bagel. I haven't heard that one.
Coffee Meets Bagel. And basically you get one potential match a day, and that's it. So you're not scrolling or anything.
That's cool.
It just comes, and then you have the whole day to read about them, see who they are or whatever. And her friend created the profile. She didn't even create it.
That's so funny.
She was because all of her friends were getting married and stuff like that. And she was just independently patient for God. She is so obedient to God's calling.
How long have you guys been married?
We've been married for 4 years now. 4 years. We've been dating for 10, 11. So, and that was a whole journey too. That was me needing to mature a little bit, but we can talk
that's a lot. Dating for 11 years.
Yeah. Well, dating for like 5 years.
Oh, sorry.
6 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Been together for
all been
11
together.
years.
Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, so her friend created the profile and she was a youth pastor. And so the first thing on her profile was youth pastor. And the day she came into my thing, I'm like, oh, she's Christian. She's passionate about raising up next generation. I'm going to talk to her. And the very next day, Ingrid saw that youth pastor was at the top. She's like, you can't advertise that I'm a youth pastor on this. So she took it off.
Oh, snap.
And so if I was one day later, I wouldn't have even talked to her.
Wow.
And so I reached out to her and, it gives you like an icebreaker question. I was just like, hey, how are you? What are you doing? She's like, we should answer the question. Like she was like, we're going to answer the question. And I'm like, okay, we're going to answer the question. So it caught me off guard, but I also really appreciated it. Yeah. Like she was very confident, And then the real thing that kind of said, this is the one I can pursue this with is when I laid everything out on the table. It was, we had our first date of meeting each other in Northfield. And then like a couple days later, I called her up. I got to tell her, I'm like, I need to let you know, like, I'm a divorcee. I'm a single dad. I've pretty much recently found Christ, and just laid it all out there for her. And after that whole conversation at the very end, she's like, okay. And that was it. She was fine with it. And I think that's, besides all the other incredible things about her, it was the fact that wasn't going to affect the way that she looked at me. And that was important because I did bring a lot, and that's how I knew that. So I wanted to pursue this.
That's really, really beautiful.
That's so sweet.
That's so sweet. That's such a cute story. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you should ask her how her perspective of it was. Because I don't know if it's the same, but that's how I felt.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have to go soon, so we'll wrap it up.
I do?
But, yeah.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. How
this
long
went
were we
by
talking?
super fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah, an hour. A whole hour.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay.
But I would love to know just what the best piece of advice either you've ever been given or just the best piece of advice that you have.
Best piece of advice. It's I think honestly it's knowing that the love grows. You know what I mean? And the only way that the love grows is if you truly honor that for better or worse, because if you always leave when things are worse, you're always going to keep finding the worst in everybody, And so, and that's stood true through our marriage. We've been through high mountains. We've been in the lowest valleys ever, but it's the fact that we can climb all those valleys still holding hands that really says like, you're the one that I would go into war with, So
that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your story with that is just so amazing because you've been through so much in marriage already with your past. You've overcome the shame of it. Mm-hmm. You learned to center your marriage on a covenant. Then walking into fatherhood, learning to be a dad, and how like in a way your son has redeemed your life and gave you purpose. Mm-hmm. It's just so beautiful. Mm-hmm. The way God has turned around your story. Mm-hmm. How God has like reached out to you. Mm-hmm. Gave you that job as a worship leader in like the craziest time of your life.
So cool.
There was no reason for that church to hire me. I'm gonna say that right now.
I mean, well, it was God. It was
it was 100% God. Yeah.
And it's so encouraging. So thank you for all that wisdom.
Yeah,
and thank you for just every day. I literally see him every single day in the morning working out. And every time you have such a wealth of knowledge that you pour into me. And you've also just been a listening ear for me moving here to Minnesota from New York and processing a lot with just recently losing my dad. We talked a lot about it. And yeah,
you're the best. We're really thankful for you.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, thank you guys. Love you guys. So,
and follow him on Instagram. What else do you have? Instagram?
Just Instagram.
Okay.
Oh, Facebook. Check out our website, Bullish Drive. So
Bullish Drive Agency.
We'll link it.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Yay.